In 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation declared freedom, but only on paper. Most enslaved people never saw that document. It was a promise written in ink, not action. True freedom was still far off, and for Black families standing on Southern soil, the chains may have loosened, but they had not yet broken. 2 years after freedom was announced, it finally reached Texas. Juneteenth was not just a celebration, it was a revelation. For the last to know they were free, it was a moment of delayed hope, stolen time, and the painful reminder that even liberation came slowly, unevenly, and without justice. The 13th Amendment ended slavery, except for those convicted of a crime. That exception became a gateway to re-enslavement. Across the South, Black people were criminalized for being poor, homeless, or simply Black. The chains returned, not in cotton fields but in prison yards, backed by the law. The Freedmen's Bureau was a glimpse of what could have been, a system meant to help Black people build lives from the ashes of bondage. But its resources were starved, its agents harassed, and its time was short. America gave aid with one hand while the other prepared to take it away. During Reconstruction, Black men voted, held office, and helped reshape democracy. It was a brief moment where freedom felt real, but this progress terrified those in power. What followed wasn't just backlash, it was a campaign to silence a people rising by any means necessary. The Ku Klux Klan rose from defeat with fire and terror. They burned crosses, homes, and bodies, not to win a war, but to restore a racial order. Violence became the language of white supremacy, spoken at night and tolerated by the law. It was a message. Freedom had limits. The Compromise of 1877 was a quiet betrayal. In exchange for political power, federal protection of Black lives was abandoned. The troops left, and with them, the promise of Reconstruction. Black communities were left exposed to violence, to injustice, and to a country already forgetting its obligation. With new laws called Black Codes, the South reimagined slavery through legislation. Vagrancy, loitering, even unemployment, ordinary life became criminal if you were Black. The legal system wasn't broken. It was designed to work against us, from the courthouse to the jail cell. Chain gangs replaced cotton fields. Convict leasing turned Black bodies into profit once again. Corporations paid pennies to work prisoners to death, and the state reaped the rewards. Slavery didn't vanish, it evolved, powered by law and greed, and buried beneath the lie of justice. After emancipation, land was promised, but never delivered. Instead, Black families became sharecroppers, trapped in endless debt to white landlords. They planted seeds they'd never own, harvested wealth they'd never see. Slavery was over, but its shadow stretched across every acre of Southern soil. In 1896, the Supreme Court declared that segregation was legal, as long as it was equal, but nothing about it was. Plessy v. Ferguson gave white America the legal cover to exclude, diminish, and dehumanize Black people in every public space, from schools to rail cars, from water fountains to opportunity itself. Black citizens who had once voted freely were now forced to pay poll taxes, recite obscure passages, or guess jelly beans in a jar. Literacy tests and grandfather clauses weren't just red tape. They were razor wire around the ballot box. The goal was simple: keep Black voices out of democracy. Lynching was America's public ritual of racial terror. It was a tool of control, carried out in open air, often with crowds and cameras. Newspapers called it justice, but it was murder meant to send a message: stay in your place, or else. And the law looked away every time. Ida B. Wells picked up a pen where others picked up a torch. She documented, investigated, and exposed the horror of lynching to a world that refused to believe Black lives mattered. In a time of silence, she chose truth. In a time of danger, she chose courage. The Black church became more than a sanctuary. It was the beating heart of the community. In the face of terror and humiliation, it offered hope, dignity, and organizing power. From the pulpit to the pews, it taught us we were made in the image of God, not Jim Crow. Education was our weapon against oppression. With hand-me-down books and broken chalk, Black teachers taught generations to read, to think, and to rise. In one-room schoolhouses, children learned that knowledge was power, and that power was worth fighting for, no matter the odds. When mainstream media ignored or distorted Black life, we built our own presses. Our newspapers told the truth about our struggles, our victories, and our humanity. The Black press wasn't just journalism, it was resistance, printed in ink and courage. Up north, in steel mills and factories, Black workers found jobs but not equality. They were given the dirtiest, most dangerous labor and paid the least. Still, they endured. Because even in hardship, it was a step away from Southern terror and a step towards survival. The Great Migration began not as a journey of hope, but of escape. Families packed what little they had and boarded northbound trains, searching for safety, dignity, and a future. They left behind the soil of their ancestors, but not the pain carried in their bones. In every town, funerals marked the cost of being Black in America. Some died from violence, others from poverty, but all from a system designed to break them. And yet we gathered, we mourned, we remembered. Because grief, too, is an act of resistance. Even after slavery's end, white plantation owners remained at ease, sipping bourbon while Black laborers toiled in their fields. The wealth stayed in white hands, the pain stayed in Black bodies. The fire in the distance was more than smoke. It was the burning truth that freedom without justice is just a new kind of bondage. At wooden tables and under false promises, freedmen signed contracts they couldn't read. These agreements, often forced, led them back to the same fields under new masters. The ink on the page replaced the whip on the back. America renamed slavery, but never removed it. Black voices filled town squares with calls for land, justice, and education. But the white world looked away. Our leaders stood on platforms built by courage, ignored by a nation built on silence. Suppression wasn't always loud. Sometimes it simply came in the form of indifference. They wore Union blue and spilled blood for a country that never truly fought for them. Black Civil War veterans came home to disrespect, to exclusion, to invisibility. But their service remains a testament. We were never passive. We fought for freedom long before the nation recognized our place in it. A child stands at the edge of history, looking toward a horizon shaped by pain and resistance. He sees the echoes of schools denied, nooses hung, prisons filled, and ballots stolen. But in his gaze is something else: memory, strength, and the quiet fire of generations refusing to be erased.